Hey everyone, it's me, Jonas, and today we're going to replace the CPU, which stands for Central Processing Unit, in my wife's PC. This is a computer from 10 years ago. It has a 3240 in it. It's produced by Intel. At the time, I guess it wasn't perfect or great CPU at the time, and they make another one higher in the range. An i7 at the time was the best CPU, so what I did is go on eBay and I bought the i7. This is a Core i7 3770. What I did was use a small piece of software on this computer called Hardware Info, HW Info, and checked what the maximum this computer is, what it can handle basically. I checked what this motherboard will hold, and I think anyone can really do this. It's pretty straightforward, famous last words, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And you might not guess this, but this part here was $30, and it's gonna essentially more than double the speed of this and improve the graphics capabilities, including gaming. It's gonna make this computer a whole lot better. So let's just get right into it. What I need to do is take off this CPU cooler first. I'm just gonna loosen these screws here. These are tensioned. I'm going from a 22 nanometer CPU, which is what 10 years ago was what they did. So each transistor was down to 22 nanometers, and these days I think Intel is producing 10 nanometer CPUs. So I guess Moore's law is not quite accurate, which means that the size of transistors would half roughly every couple of years, but that sort of law has kind of come to a standstill over the last few years. I'm trying to sort of loosen it evenly as to release the pressure evenly, and that's probably it. Yep, there it is. There it goes. This is the CPU fan. I am going to reuse this. As you can see, it still has thermal paste on it. I have new thermal paste, and you should use new thermal paste too. You definitely need to use thermal paste so that it can dissipate the heat correctly. And what I'm just going to do is use some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of the old crusty thermal paste on here before I reapply new thermal paste. The previous CPU had 2 cores. The CPU is essentially the brain, and having 2 cores means it essentially has 2 brains. You can basically do twice the processing power than when CPUs were first designed, and this new one's going to have 4 brains. It's pretty good. I mean, these days you can get one with 8, 16. This computer over here, pretty sure it has like 8 or 6 or 8. That's almost good enough. Like, you don't need to, just make sure you get it all nice off the surface. There you go. That's pretty good. This one has a release mechanism, as you can see here. I think I'm gonna have to also remove this screw, but I'm not sure. So let's see if we can just pop this release mechanism out here. Yep, don't need to. So this is basically how it works. All I'm gonna do is take this old CPU out. We'll clean this up in a moment to see whether or not it actually says i3 on it, which it will, but just in case. And as you can see, there is a small indicator here where you can see which corner should be where, and that's basically how the CPU should go back into this. Look at that, all I'm doing, I mean, you can't do too much wrong here. Try not to bend the pins is essentially the big one. Look at that, that's in there. Now all I'm going to do is close the latch back up like this. And carefully put pressure on it. Ugh, it feels, just want to make sure that it's really, yeah, it's in the right place. It just feels like you're putting a lot of pressure on it, but I think that's what it needs. And back under, look at that, it's in there. How much thermal paste, you ask? I don't know, I always see people draw these X's on it. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Let's just put like an X. Oh, maybe take the lid off, Jonas, that'll help. And then I'm gonna use a glove to spread it, because the stuff is quite nasty on your fingers. I don't know what they put in this. Let's go. Just gonna spread this around here. Make sure it's on all of the surface. You don't want too much on there, that's why you just put a little X there. Here we go. That looks like it's pretty covered. Now, let's put the CPU fan back on there. I think it was this direction, wasn't it? It's got this weird shroud. Yeah, it was like that. That's what it kind of looked like, I would argue. Screw these back down evenly. Maybe opposites first. It's always a good way down. Okay, so that one's down. I'm gonna put this one down. There we go. Essentially, don't forget to plug your fan back in. I think my generation learned to do these things because we had to do these things growing up. Computers weren't as reliable as they used to be, as they are now. But you can learn it now. Yeah, don't forget to plug your fan back in, put your lid back on, plug it back in, and give it a test run. Okay, let's go. Let's plug this in and see if I did everything right. Okay. After one initial error, I guess, because of the replacing the CPU part, it's trying to boot into Windows, and that's a pretty good sign. It needs the CPU to do those things, so it seems good. You can now see I have an Intel Core i7 in here. Very nice, very nice. I'm not going to stress test this right now, I don't need to. But in general, it's just going to run a whole lot better. And that is essentially it. So if you want to replace your CPU, you can do it. It only cost me $30 and I've more than doubled my processing power on this older computer, and it's still a very good, very functional computer. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you later.